today we are here to mark the inauguration of Touch the Peak workshop series. It's actually an annual job fair and entrepreneur workshop series for the year 2022. So today's workshop is organized by the Career Skills Development Society of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. We are bringing you this online workshop series to provide you with the right professional guidance you need in your career life, while hoping that this would be an opportunity to improve your soft skills. So this topic is very interesting, and more than interesting, I think it will be useful because almost all of us have some struggles when it comes to preparing CVs.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind cooperation. So to start off our session, let's honor our educator, the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, by singing our university anthem.
Sri Lanka Pinbar Randirani Sri Nivasa Maha Aganagare Sri Jayawardhanapura Sarasavi Sri Namaya Randavav Lomudune Hikkaduwe Siri Sumagul Samidun Vigikal Vidyodaya Vidubimadun Eliyen Divi Magasarasav Sri Lanka Pinbar Randirane Sri Nivasa Maha Aganagare Sri Jayawardhanapura Sarasavi Sri Namaya Randava Lomudune Ayuktiyedi Vivadashili Asatyedi Vicharashili Viyat Sabhamed Samajashili Viyatun Vidaya Pobayav Sri Lanka Pinbar Randirane Sri Nivasa Maha Aganagare Sri Jayawardhanapura Sarasavi Sri Namaya Randavav Lomudune Vidya Utpatatan Setta Vidya Utpatatan Setta Vidya Utpatatan Setta
Hello everyone. So I hope you got an idea. So thank you everyone. And for the first workshop series of this workshop, I would like to welcome Professor Sudat Manjula Amarasena, the Director of the Career Guidance Unit and the Head of the Department of Decision Sciences in the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Chaturangani Tennakon, Career Advisor of the Career Guidance Unit and Senior Treasurer of the Career Skills Development Society. Next off, our warmest welcome goes to Ms. Sabeeha Murad, our keynote speaker for the day. Also, I would like to welcome all the academics, organizing committee, and everyone from the audience who joined with us for this wonderful session. So what is Touch the Peak all about? For this online workshop series of Touch the Peak, today is the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce episode of the annual Job Fair 2022. This is organized by the Career Skills Development Society of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, and we are organizing this in order to give you a deep knowledge to uplift your career skills from pioneers. So we have a video ready and we'll be ready to share it with you. hope you got a small idea on what Touch the Peak workshop is all about. So this workshop series, it won't be a success without the product of the sweat of some individuals. And with that, we have to remind our sponsors. So this next video is to give a shout out to our sponsors. Yes, so with that, we would like to give a heartfelt appreciation to all our sponsors who make this workshop series a success. So, as the next step of today's workshop, I would like to invite Professor Sudat Manjula Amarsena, the Director of the Career Guidance Unit and the Head of the Department of Decision Sciences, to illuminate our session.
Very good morning to all of you. Ms. Chaturangani Tennakon, our career advisor. Ms. Sabeeha, Assistant Manager, Unilever, Sri Lanka. And my dear student, organizing committee members, I am really happy to address you on 2022 career fair organized by the Career Guidance Unit to our Faculty Management Studies and Commerce. I'm sure that this time also that we plan to do that with virtual platform. I think that everybody, you know, that Career Guidance Unit have a main objective to enhance student capabilities and also that employability. Therefore, that job fair is really important for our student, especially that the excellence faculty of the in Sri Lanka Management Education, Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce. We have the high qualified graduate. And also that I know that some students maybe still there in the third year, they need to get some intern opportunities. That a lot of organization, actually industry people, they are give a full support for us to give the opportunity for our student. Then I think I would like to invite that all the students, participants, please take the maximum advantage from this workshop series. It's really important for your career path. And finally, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our resource person, Ms. Sabeeha. She's the Assistant Manager, Unilever Sri Lanka, and also that our career advisor, Mrs. Chaturangani Tennapon, and all the staff members of the Career Guidance Unit, and CSDS, our executive board, and all the student, you are the organization committee. And finally, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude for all the participants. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. As usual, your words are always a source of strength towards us. Shall we move on to the next most awaited part of this session? So I think we have 150 plus participants here, and they all know the importance of making a proper and perfect CV. And I think that is why they have joined this session. So as you all know, CV gives the first impression of yourself to your employer. And it's obviously an essential piece of personal marketing. You can use it to promote yourself, and also you can stand out by letting them know about you, your education, achievement, skills, and so on. And so today we are about to learn how to make a perfect and proper CV. So, small reminder, we'll be giving you all a valuable e-certificate to everyone who stays until the end of the session. So, stay tuned to know how you can receive this e-certificate. So, to start off the session, let me introduce our resource person for today. This incredible character is Miss Sabeeha Murad. She's the Assistant Manager of Employee Brand and Talent Organization from Human Resources of Unilever Sri Lanka. So very good morning, ma'am. And the session is over to you.
Thanks a lot, Melissa, for that amazing introduction. And a very good morning to all of you. Usually when I do this session, it's at 5 o'clock in the evening, and I think this is the first time that I'm doing it so early in the morning. But I'm a morning person, so I think it's quite interesting. So I would actually, before I start and go into this whole session, I like when people talk to me and really have a conversation with me, because CV writing, there's no like one way to go about it. So if y'all can put on your videos and ask me questions, even when I go as I go along, I don't really mind. Just keep the conversation going. Yes. Okay, let me just share my screen really quickly. Okay. Okay, I'm guessing all of you can see. Okay, guys, so good morning. I am Sabeeha, and as Melissa gave such a sweet introduction to who I am, I'm also going to give you a bit more. And I'm going to, kind of see if I can wake you all up because I know it's in the morning. So I'm Sabeeha, and I went to Lyceum International School, Nagegoda. Right after that, I joined NSBM, where I did my degree in human resources management. Well, I actually was into human resources from a small age, and I knew that that was the path that I wanted to go down. But right after I finished, during my degree, actually, I wanted to work, and from a small age, I always wanted to work. I used to help my dad out in his business. And I always had this need and want to work and make my own money. So during my college, my third year, I joined Nestle, and I did an internship in the marketing department. Very different from HR, I know, but I did an internship in the marketing department just to try it out, and I absolutely loved it. I loved how engaging it was. I loved marketing as a whole. And then after my 1 year of my internship finished, I had to make a choice as to whether I will use my degree and go forward or whether I will actually stick with marketing. So at that point, I had to make a choice and see, okay, which path am I going to go down? So I thought, okay, you know what, since I did a HR degree, let me actually try HR and see before, only doing marketing. So then I was fortunate enough to get into Unilever HR as a contractual at that time, which was in 2017, actually, which was also during my last year at college. So once I got in, of course, I've been there ever since. I'm still here, and I'm in HR, and I've had a lot of learnings, a lot of roles during my tenure at Unilever. I started off as junior HR executive, went up to HR executive, and then became permanent as data specialist and people's operations assistant manager, and now moved into my very new role, assistant manager for employer brand and talent and organization. So it's been a super journey. And I'm glad, that I switched from marketing to HR because I feel like HR is more my strength. But, in life, there's decisions that you have to make. And it's been quite an interesting journey. I don't know how many of you know this, but Unilever is like a university. So definitely during these, past almost 5 years that I've been at Unilever, I've been learning new things every single day, and it's amazing, actually. So now currently I'm the assistant manager for employer brand and talent. To give you a bit about what I do, so employer branding is really, the cornerstone of actually branding Unilever in the market and in the eyes of the youth, in the eyes of mid-career recruits. How you see Unilever, how you kind of view Unilever, how we market it. Everything is to do with employer branding, and talent is to do with organizational structures. The mid people forums that we have, etc. So I'm not going to drill down into it because you might not know these jargons. So today you're here for a session on CV writing. Yeah. And of course, you know, CV writing is important. Yeah. If I am to start off, what are the basic steps of recruitment, right? Maybe you do know this, maybe you all might have not actually like applied for a job as of yet in your particular field. You're like in university. Very like usually when I do this session, it's for undergraduates who haven't really even done their first internship. So that's why I kind of dig deep into you understanding where you stand. So when it comes to recruitment, right? Let's say an organization like Unilever has an opening for a job. When we have an opening for a job, let's say someone has left or someone got promoted and we need to fill this position, what do? We obviously advertise. Yeah, we advertise and we call in for CVs. So you send in your CV. So let's say Melissa is interested in this job that I have as a recruitment manager, and she sends in her CV. So let's say I'm the recruitment manager currently, and I'm finding an assistant recruitment manager. So what happens is Melissa will send in her CV and wait. So I will look at her CV, and if I feel like she's good for the next steps, I will push her to the interview, right? I push her to the interview. She'll have an interview with me. Then in any case, so different companies have different ways of recruitment, right? Sometimes they might have 2 interviews. Sometimes they might have 3 interviews, the last one with the director. Sometimes they might have an assessment center in the middle where they kind of check different knowledge. Sometimes they might have IQ, EQ, mathematics, general knowledge tests, etc. So it depends, but this is just the basis, right? You do an initial interview, you go into your assessment center, and sometimes you have your final interview. And your final interview is usually either with like a head of a department or it's the director, but depending on the role, right? When it comes to an internship, we don't really, get the director to hire an intern. We do the interviews and we close it off. So depending on the role that you're hiring for as well, this also changes. So in this whole basic steps of recruitment, right? I want to ask you a question. How important is your CV? How important was Melissa's CV in this basic steps of recruitment for her to land that job? Okay, so you have to kind of put it in the chat. Okay, so 1 to 5, obviously 5 being most important and 1 being least important. Yes, I see someone saying 5. Okay, there's about 150 people. This chat should be blowing up now. If anyone wants to unmute and tell me, that's also perfectly fine. Okay, so, okay, I see a 5. Sometimes when I do this, what happens is some people say 4 as well, and I ask them why they're saying 4. So I think all of you all sort of understand, right? The gist of it. So it is obviously a 5, yeah, because 5 is, okay, so there is one person who said 5 is other steps won't happen if the CV is rejected, which is completely true. Melissa is, she wants that job, obviously, because as undergraduates, at the end of the day, you're studying to get somewhere, and you want that job or you want that particular thing that you want. And once you're, once you send in your CV, you want to go to the rest of the, steps. And your CV is the most important thing because that's the first interaction between you and an organization that you would love to work for. So your CV is really important. And, what happens is it's so important that it's also supposed to stand out, right? In this particular field, in this in this day and age, let me give you a bit of context. So we have opened up for Unilever Future Leaders program, which is our management trainee program, which is open now. So if you want to apply, go ahead and apply. But we usually receive about 1,000 to 1,500 CVs for a particular position, right? When it comes to management training, but on general, right, it can easily be about 400 to 500 CVs for a position that's open. And as a recruiter, so I'd like you to also sit in the mind of a recruiter, which people usually don't do. As a recruiter, imagine you get 400 CVs of people, 400, right? How exactly are you going to stand out? Yeah. How exactly are you going to get chosen to the next step? And that's the only thing, either that piece of paper, either that email that you sent, either that PDF with 2 pages is what you actually really need to dig deep into, right? The interview, the assessment, everything comes afterwards. So this CV is very important. So I hope I made it very clear that your CV is something that is very important for you, and you kind of really need to think about it. And I will tell you how to make it better. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to give you a CV template, right? I'm not going to say, this is the best CV template that you can use. I'm not going to tell you, how you're supposed to, if you put this particular thing, all the recruiters are going to want you, right? There's no proper, like if you do this, you're definitely going to get the job. There's nothing like that, right? When you go down the line, you will see that you need the basics in line properly. And then you need to start filling up your CV with things that you've been doing, and seeing as to what you can make your CV better in general. Okay. So we'll go through each and every component of a CV and how you need to kind of put it. So always see, what buckets you're going to put it in. So the thing is, when you kind of think of a CV, it's about yourself. It's about your professional qualifications. It's what you've done so far in your life, right? So it's very important to structure it properly, to make it easy to, really let someone go through and pick the main, topics or subtopics. So let's say it's work experience. Where have you worked? What's the designation? Where have you worked? What's the designation? Education. What's the degree? Extracurricular. What sports? It needs to be really easy to pick up. Yeah. Because like I said, 400 to 500 CVs, we do not read each and every word on your CV because we can't. It's impossible, right? So yes. So let's start. I'm just going to take you through a normal CV and tell you what to do and what not to do in your CV. So again, one thing that I would like to tell you all is it differs. Your CV would actually differ from industry to industry, because for FMCG, it might be a bit different according to the role that you are applying for. But I've realized that even in like IT industries or in a few other industries, they're very particular about what they want. So I'll tell you at the end also what to do about that. Yeah. Okay. So ideally, right, anyone knows, right at the top, it should be your details, your personal details, right? A picture of yourself, your, first name, last name. Do not go to put, all your gay names and like 10, like if you have like 5 names in your name, don't put all, just your first and your last name. Your first name should be the name that we should refer to you, right? Just 2 names, more than enough. You have to put a working email address and a working phone number. You can put your address as well so that they know where you're from, and add a professional image. Yeah. So your first name, last name, working email, address and phone number, and your professional image. So this seems quite simple. And this is the first thing that a recruiter looks at because it's right at the top, right? We look at your photo, we look at where you're from. We look at your email, and in any case that we want to contact you, of course, all the details are there right on top, so that we don't have to waste time looking for it. So usually this is right on top of your CV. Things to watch out for: a photo sometimes is not required, but it depends on your preference. If you want a photo, or if you have some religious thing saying you don't want to put a photo, that's also perfectly fine. But a photo would actually be a good thing in your, like, if you want to put it. Secondly, if you are putting a photo, you need to make sure that it's professional, right? I've seen photos of people at parties. I've seen photos with people who've put mohawks, and all of that. And like that, like I saw this one photo where this person had just, like, I'm sure had a nice time at the party, and he was sweating, and you can see his shirt, and he's like drenched in sweat, and he has put that as his CV profile picture. You can, of course, look nice in your picture, and that's perfectly fine. But make sure it's a professional picture. Make sure that you look professional, because at the end of the day, we're hiring someone for our organization, and we need them to, really understand the basis of being professional, right? And if someone doesn't understand what sort of picture to put where, then it also says a lot. So it's very important to have a professional photo. You can smile, of course. You don't have to be like, shocked or whatever. Just make sure that it is a good photo, and it doesn't have any weird, party stuff. Secondly, if you are putting your work email or your personal email address, I would ideally say put your personal email address and your phone number. So email address, if you have applied for a role, it's very important to keep checking your emails, more so your phone number, right? What happens is, a lot of the time you put a phone number, and when someone calls you, right, your recruiter is going to call you. That's the first thing we do. Before we actually send an email, we actually call, and give you the details of the job, ask you if you're really interested. So when we do call, mostly sometimes people don't pick up because it's from an unknown number. So I have this policy of trying not to pick up unknown numbers. But if you have applied for a job, and if it's a recruiter calling you, how are they going to get through to you? So if you have applied for a job and you have put your phone number on it, make sure that you answer each and every call, because you never know, right? Plus, I would always say put 2 phone numbers. Maybe your mom's, maybe your dad's, maybe your sister's, anyone who actually answers the phone. In case one doesn't work, they will quickly try the next one, and then they will not try again, in case, because they do have to call up a lot of people. So it's very important, that you're easily reachable as well. So make sure you at least put 2 phone numbers, and both the phone numbers, make sure people answer. And your working email, like I said, make sure that you actually check your email and check your spam and junk folders as well, because sometimes the email goes to your spam and junk and you don't see it. So it's very important to kind of keep checking, especially if you know that you have applied for a job. Yeah. So firstly, that is right on top, your personal details, which is, very straightforward. So I'm going to skip, so secondly, ideally, if you have work experience, that would come right on top on your CV, because work experience is the main thing. But in case you don't have work experience, and this is very usual, and why I have put education second for you guys, is because sometimes people don't have work experience. Undergraduates don't have work experience, and that's perfectly fine. When you're applying for an internship, no one is really going to penalize you for not having work experience. So it's okay. But ideally, when you're making your CV and you do come to a stage where you do have work experience, make sure you put it on top. So one thing that I want to say is your CV should always be in a chronological order. Yeah. What you're doing currently needs to be on top. And then you need to, kind of break it down into what you've done. So always keep on updating your CV, and what you're doing currently, you should make sure that that's the first thing that person sees. So if you're working somewhere, that should ideally be right on top under your personal details. Yeah. But in case you don't have any work experience, that's perfectly fine. You can put your education, yeah, because that is what you're doing, and you're in university, so it makes total sense to put your education. Keep it simple, right? I will tell you what not to do or what I have seen people doing. Like you can see, I've given a few examples on the right hand side, where you can put your degree name, you know, what's the particular degree you're doing, or if you have any other professional qualifications, you can then put your university name, so where are you doing it, and the year, when did you start, when are you expected. You can easily put it in any of these formats. And of course, if you want to put your predicted results or your GPA currently, if you have graduated, then you know what's your class, second upper, first class, and then of course the year of graduation, when you graduated, if you graduate. Yeah. And always try and add, if you have any professional qualifications, of course go ahead and add it, because I mean, you're doing it for that reason, right? So put your degree, your school, and your professional qualification. So that also should be in order. So now you've obviously finished school, so that should be right at the bottom. What happened next? What's the degree you're doing? And what's currently doing? Are you doing a professional qualification anywhere? Or are you doing a degree? So that also has to be in a particular order, right? Something that I want to tell, something that I still see in a lot of CVs is when, since you know it's only education and stuff like that, sometimes you want to fill in the space in your CV, right? And a lot of people tend to put huge tables with the subject and the marks, each subject with each mark that they've gotten, and that itself goes on for another 2 pages. It's like you're, you know, attaching your transcript onto your CV. In terms of us, or in terms of when we are recruiting, something like that is really not necessary. You can easily just say that you've passed your, you know, O-levels, A-levels. You don't have to put your O-level and A-level results, you know, in like a table and show us this is your mark for this. You can obviously tell us what stream that you've been in, etc., but not put it like that. So, you know, don't put individual results for each and every subject that you're doing. Also, having said that, it also depends on the industry. If they have asked you, so when we ask, you know, a particular CV for a particular job, in any case that the job requires it, right? Sometimes we actually say, okay, please give us the transcript, or please tell us, you know, your O-levels and A-levels results, which never happens in terms of us. But in any case that they do ask you for it, then yes, go ahead and put it. But if they haven't asked, then please don't. You know, you don't have to say where you went for primary school, which, you know, Montessori you went to. No, not necessary. You can just talk about O-levels and A-levels, and then your education and your degree. If you have your master's, go ahead, put that as well. So very simple and easy, you know, just where you did it, what's the course, what's the date that you did it, and what's your GPA, and if you've graduated, what's your year of graduation. So it's very simple, very to the point. So then let's move on to work experience. So maybe some of you have work experience, maybe some of you don't. Like I said before, do not worry about it, because you all are undergraduates, and if you probably will be applying for internships, etc., just for work experience alone. So we understand that, hence why I put education for you on top. But in any case that you do have work experience, make sure it's right on top, because that's very important. And I will teach you about how to put work experience also, because once you do it, or once you do an internship, of course, add it onto your CV when you get chosen. So what you have to do when you put it into your CV, again, what's the designation? Let's say finance internship for Unilever Sri Lanka. So you put finance internship, you can put Unilever Sri Lanka, and when you start, and in any case you're still doing it, you can always put dash present, right? Which means you're currently in that position. Or if not, if you've done it and you had it in the past, then you can put the 2 dates that you kind of started and ended it. And then you have to put, when it comes to work experience, unlike education, you need to showcase what you have done underneath the particular jobs, right? In very, very simple terms as to what you've done during this period, right? And in like point wise, like responsibilities and key things that you achieved. So if you handled a particular account, or if you helped with the training and development, or if you helped with keeping books, anything to do with that, you have to put it. So I would say about 4 to 5 bullet points per internship that you've done, so that a recruiter can quickly see, okay, this person has exposure into these and these areas. And make sure sometimes when you are applying for a job, make sure you tweak it. So let's say this job needs you to kind of have experience in accounting and managing ledgers, and if you've done that, right, and if your CV does not have that particular line, of course put it in and change it and send it across, because then it's easy, because then we can see, okay, oh, this person has experience in this, that'd be great. And also put, if you've like achieved something extraordinary, like your projects or your targets, and you were able to do that in this particular timeline, please put it into your CV. If you've done any big events for the company that you worked for, or if you were a part of a project that landed and it was amazing or something like that, then you have a KPI, which is a key performance indicator, and you have a number to prove that this is what happened, or you change this from this by this percentage. Those kind of stuff, do put it in, right? So it's important. So let's say if you are applying for a marketing role, it's good if you do have marketing experience. But then again, if you are applying for an internship, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to have marketing experience per se, but think about your career, think about where you want to go, and think about how you want someone to look at your CV. If I am in marketing and I'm hiring a brand manager, I would definitely want to see someone who has experience in this, in that particular line. So think about where you want to go. Think about how you want your CV to look, how you're going to keep on climbing the ladder, and how you want that. Having said that, you all are still small, and it's not like you have to, have that like proper brand manager material on your CV already. So try out things, figure out where you work, figure out where you fit in, and then add it to your CV, because there's so many programs out there that you can actually try out. And like me, like I did marketing and then I switched to HR just to figure it out, but I still have it on my CV, which doesn't really hurt. So then it comes to work experience. So like I said, personal details, if you have work experience, that's good. And then your education, right? And then we come to extracurriculars. So amongst y'all, I know that extracurriculars is a very, a very big part of your CV. A lot of people have leadership positions in clubs, society, Isaac. I see this a lot. Any researches that you've carried out, which are, really that need to be showcased in a CV. Any volunteering experiences, sports achievements, all of that. So of course you can put that in, because it does show a lot on your leadership, team working, and the sports that you do. So a lot of your personality comes out from an extracurricular section. So like I've given you examples on the side, so you can of course put the role that you played, or like the club that you were in, the role that you played, like let's say co-committee vice president, and then the date, and then you can put like a small, I wouldn't even put it, but just about 1 or 2 lines about your key responsibilities in any case that you want to talk about it, and if you really played a huge part. One thing I want to tell you in this sector or this area, right, it's okay to put everything that you've been in your university, but make sure that you actively participated. Because sometimes people put, I was in this, I was in that, I was in this, I was in that, I was vice chair for this, I was president for this, I was secretary for this. And all well and good. I mean, we will look at the CV and we will be really impressed. Where you get caught if you haven't actively participated is in your interview. Because sometimes I do ask, what exactly did you do in this particular club? Because you don't have work experience. So we look at this and see how you manage your team working, etc. So at that point, we will ask you in the interview, what did you exactly do as the core committee vice president? And you need to be able to answer that question, and we can easily tell if you've actually participated or not. Because it's very, very easy to tell if someone has, really given their heart and soul into working on a project, because it comes out when you're talking. So it's very important for you to, put whatever you have done, make sure that you properly participated in it, and you have, given something to it, and you are passionate about working for it, right? So that's an important thing. So your extracurriculars is quite straightforward. I mean, there's nothing that you need to kind of, think of in that sense. Okay. And then, give me a second. Okay. So then you have your other skills, right? So your other skills are basically very straightforward. When you're applying for a role, you do have a particular role that you would like to, go into. And they would require certain skills. So let's say, like I said, for your IT industry, sometimes they need like these programming languages. Sometimes they need a certain type of, like, let's say if you're applying for a role that really needs MS Excel, and they have stated it in that job, in the job description that they have, so then you definitely need to put it in. However, if there's nothing that they have, stated in, and it's an internship or whatever, make sure that you don't. So one thing that I always see is people just put team working, leadership, problem solving, and all of that, right? Which is, the usual stuff that you would want to put on a CV. But actually, when you go to think of it, you need to be very smart in this area as well. Put different things. And what happens is sometimes when you say other skills and you put leadership, in case you do get chosen, the first a question that I would ask usually is, why do you think you have leadership as a skill? Like, what have you done to prove that you have leadership as a skill? So be very careful in what you're putting on your CV as well, because it can turn into a question in the interview slot. So you can obviously use different things, right? There's a lot of things to actually show your skills other than the usual stuff that everyone will use, right? The top one actually really, the top example that I've given you is much better than this bottom example. Things like strategic thinking, negotiation, communication, stakeholder management, content creation. If you do anything outside, like, programming languages or learning programming languages, stuff like that, right? It's so important. Yeah. And it shows a different side, and you really stand out when you do different things than other people. So each and every component of your CV, try and make it, seem a bit different. You can of course add language skills if the job requires it. I actually always tell people, don't add generic stuff like MS Word, Excel, and all of that, except if the job, if they have particularly defined that you need to have Microsoft, skills, then you can of course say that you do, but you don't really need to add it in per se. Yeah. One more thing that I would want to talk about is, so now if I am to sum up, you get your personal details, you get your work experience, you get your education, you get your extracurricular activities, and then you get your other skills, right? So it's very simple, it's very straightforward. It's a nice CV, it's a to the point CV, right? And then at the end, of course, you get your references. So your references, as you know, is a non-related person. So it has to be a non-related person, has to be someone you've worked with. So if it's someone in your career guidance unit, if it's your dean, if it's a lecturer that knows about you. Why we need references is because what happens is sometimes when you start working and all, we usually get a reference to call up the person and ask how this person is when they're working, what's their type, what's their attitude, etc. So it's important to kind of have references. So I usually put 2 references on my CV, and these are non-related people. So what you do is you put their name, you put their designation, you put their phone number and their email address so that they can contact them if required, right? So references is quite straightforward, and it's a good thing to have references so that, we see that you have someone to back you. So always tell, if you're putting your lecturer as a reference, always make sure you ask them, can I put you as a reference? Because in any case that we call them and they don't even know who you are, then it doesn't look good. So make sure you tell and say that, okay, I'm putting you as a reference. If anyone calls you, please do answer. And make sure they know you and they've worked with you, because we usually ask, okay, do you know this person? How is he or she in class? Was she very attentive? Was she very, capable of kind of problem solving here and there, and all of that? So it's very important that you tell the person as well, right? So then you get your references right at the bottom. So all in all, that's an entire CV, the basic stuff that you need on your CV in that particular order. And in any case, a few things that I would like to, speak about before we kind of end the session and kind of have a Q&A time is the fact that, make sure that you don't put too many colors on your CV. Make sure that it's very eye-catchy. Your headings are in a different font and your letters are in a different font, so that if someone looks at it, they should be able to pick, okay, work experience, this, education, this, and then extracurriculars, this, and this. So make sure you highlight and bold the right areas. If they're only supposed to read the headings, they should be able to still get everything about you. And make sure you use about 2 colors to contrast. Do not make it multicolored, because some people have a tendency to love to put so many colors into their CV. You can, of course, use a template to make it, seem more attractive, etc. A lot of the times, the questions that I get on CVs is, how long should my CV be? And I've seen long CVs, right? Just recently, I was at a career fair and I got like a little book, actually, I think with like 10 pages. She had put her like I said, the transcript to the marks to each and every subject, the marks, etc. You don't need to do that, right? That's a waste of paper, first of all. And also it's way too long, right? Usually it's 2 pages. That's it. 2 pages, meaning, 1, 2, not 4 sides. 2 pages, more than enough. And any longer, that's not a good thing. Make sure you concise it, right? Make sure you keep it to, you can even have 1 page. Sometimes when you don't have a lot of work experience, it's quite hard to find things to fill in a CV. But just because you have nothing to fill in a CV, don't go and add stuff which aren't relevant. Don't do that. Make it clean, make it concise, make it 1 page, to the point, to the dot. That's also perfectly fine, right? Like I said, we're all on a time crunch. We don't really have time anymore. We don't really read too much into it. Another question that I always get is on the cover letter. So for us, I think in our company, we don't really want a cover letter. First of all, we don't have time to read cover letters. But then again, having said that, I don't think cover letters is something that's usually required. But then again, some industries or some companies actually do require a cover letter. In that case, you do provide one, but in any other case, you don't have to. Again, depending on the industry and the company. So one thing that I would like to say is, in any case that you are applying for a job, if you do have a contact in that particular company, or if you know somebody, or if you can reach out to somebody, always reach out and ask, okay, I am applying for this job. Is there anything I need to have in my CV? Is there anything that they're looking for in particular? Is there, something that I need to know, something that I don't need to know? Is there a particular skill I need to have that they're looking for? It's good if you can talk to someone in the company and actually just like have a chat with them and see. And always proofread your CV. Make sure there is no spelling mistakes. Make sure that everything is in line and all the data is correct. Make sure you do not lie on your CV. Do not lie, because you will get caught down the line. Make sure that everything is in place and accurate and to the point. And if anyone asks you to speak about a project that's on your CV, you should be able to speak about it like that. So all in all, don't get scared. It's quite straightforward. What I told you to do is just kind of really look at how you can build the basic and then keep on adding. So your work experience will automatically come when you start working, you move jobs. Try and see how it will fit into your CV. Do more stuff online, do your professional qualifications, join clubs, etc. And really see how you can build your CV to stand out. So there's, like I said, there's no one way I can tell you, okay, this is the best template, please put it in and then you can get the job. There's nothing like that. It's just get your basics right and really see how you can add in your skills and stuff while you go in your journey and learn. So keep your CV up to date always, in case you are looking for jobs and in your career. Keep on updating it as you go. Yeah. So that's about it, actually. I hope you got something from the session. And now, in any case that you have any questions, you can ask me or put it in the chat. That's also perfectly fine. Yeah. So I think I answered a lot of the questions that I usually get as well, just to kind of have it out there. But if anyone has any comments, anyone has any questions that they want to ask me, anything at all, you can ask. Okay. What exactly is a cover letter? So a cover letter is actually, you get your CV, which is like in bullet points and, literally overview of, what you are. A cover letter is usually in paragraph form. So it's mainly like a essay of like maybe 3 paragraphs, and actually has, it's like a summary of your CV, like it's a summary in a paragraph form. So you kind of explain to the person what you are, where you're from, what degree you did, and what you're looking for in a company and why are you applying to that particular company. So it's like a small essay. And in, like, I know for a fact in countries like Australia, it's very a cover letter is actually a very important thing, and they take it a step further, and it's like a story. It's like you have to write a story about yourself and like stand out. So here we don't really usually do that. So cover letter in a gist is a summary, like essay type summary of what you have in your CV. Yeah. Very informative session. Thank you so much. Where to put publications and other participations. Okay, where to put publications and other participations. So publications, etc., I think you can put under education. You can of course have, if you have a lot of publications, you can of course have another, another kind of subtopic and put publications, and put all your publications under that. That's also perfectly fine. Yeah. Okay. So wait, there's a few questions that are coming in. Is it mandatory to put a signature and date on the CV? Nope, it is not mandatory. You do not have to put a signature and your date as to when you signed it. You don't have to put a date, because your CV is your CV, so you can just end it from references. You don't need to say anything else. Okay. Okay. I have followed a diploma in Tamil in government university. So ma'am, in my CV, where can I put this? Under education. So if you have done a diploma, regardless of what language you did it in, it's obviously your education, right? Um, you can put it under your education. Plus also, if you're putting languages somewhere, you can obviously put Tamil and say, you know, proficient or something like that. So you can put it in both places actually. Is there any suggested way to include partially completed professional qualification? So partially completed, it depends. If you are in the process of doing a professional qualification, then you can say, like I put education and I showed you professional qualifications, you can put, you know, started and then still doing presently. But if you have partially completed something, I'm not quite sure if you can put it. That also depends on the particular qualification. Let's say you started your, you know, like a qualification and then you didn't end it, then it's not a good thing to put it on the CV. But in case, let's say you're doing SIMA and you pass like the first stage, then you can obviously put SIMA and then you can say first stage or pass first stage, and then that's fine, right? Because you passed the first stage. But in case you're doing like a 3-year diploma or something, or a 3-year degree, and you dropped off halfway and you're not going to complete it, then if you put it on the CV, then the recruiter thinks, okay, this person is currently doing it and has not completed it. But in any case that you passed a particular, let's say diploma, you pass like a year and you get an advanced, like a high national diploma certificate, you can put that, right? But do not put it as, you know, still currently doing. So it's a bit tricky. So if you have done a particular part of it where you get a particular certification out of it, then put it. But in case you've dropped off and you aren't going to continue it, then do not put it on it. Yeah. Okay, so that's the thing. I cannot show you a full CV because, like I said, there is no correct CV for me to show. Each and every one of us have different types of CVs. Online, there are so many templates of CVs now. Just keep in mind the little tips that I told you when you're making your CV, right? When you download something, keep in mind those little tips and that will help you perfectly. Because if I cannot show you a particular CV, because that's the thing, right? If I give you a template, then imagine 180 of you have the same template. That doesn't really work out and that doesn't really stand out. So each of us, our CV it literally shows ourselves. So it has to be personal. It has to be personalized to you. It has to stand out. It has to be different. There's no one template that's going to kind of help you. Yeah. If we don't have outstanding extracurricular activities, is it going to be an issue? So the thing is, I don't know what you mean by outstanding. If you did do sports and stuff like that in school and all of that, then definitely put it in. It doesn't have to be outstanding. Like you don't have to, you know, literally be like the swimming captain or something. If you have done swimming and if you have participated in certain, you know, meets or professional meets, then you can definitely put it in. The word outstanding there, I think if you have done extracurricular, put it in. It doesn't have to be outstanding. Yeah. Can we include certifications that we obtain virtually? So this is a question that I get a lot. So this depends, right? There are certain courses and there are certain professional certifications that you can do online, where some of them you get like a proper, you know, you do like a proper course for about a week and you give in a particular amount of time as well and you get a certificate at the end. Some of them are 5-minute courses. Yeah. So it's very important to kind of check the depth of the course. What the thing with online courses is very tricky. On LinkedIn also, there are so many courses, right? You get courses which are 10 minutes, which you can do for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and do it. But the thing is that doesn't really carry enough weight. When you're putting something on your CV, it needs to carry weight. So if you are doing something where you're spending about a month or like a week, and you're properly learning something out of it, and you're getting a certificate. So one thing with online courses, you can do it, and at the end of it, they do tell you, this person has spent this much of time on this particular thing. If in case they tell you, okay, can we have all your certifications, you should be able to produce it. So don't do 5 minute, 5 minute, 5 minute like courses and put about 15 5-minute courses, right, on your CV, because it doesn't look good. Make sure that whatever you do carries weight. Yeah. So like I said, like Coursera and all of that, if you do a proper course, then yeah, definitely go ahead, put it in. Should we categorize educational qualifications as professional, academic, and secondary? So I think it's quite straightforward. You don't have to really categorize it, because then again, you're bringing more clutter. Make sure it's a very simple CV, to the point. Don't bring too much of clutter. Make sure you keep the right spacing in your CV. So education qualifications is professional, academic, and secondary is not necessary. But yeah, I worked as a bank teller before attending. Can I mention it in my CV for all kind of job positions, or what are the specific? Okay, one thing I need to say is, if you have done something, okay, what, like I told you before, if you are applying for a certain job, make sure that you tailor it to that. But if you have worked and you have particular experience in a particular segment, always put it on your CV, right? Just because, let's say you're a bank teller and you're going to apply for a HR role, do not take it off thinking, okay, you know what, they're not going to care that I worked at a bank. It's very important. Your work experience is very important. Yeah. So of course, put it on your CV. Do not take it off, and put put what you've done, etc., because it's important. Yeah. And like, they would know that you have worked from a young age and stuff like that. So it's very important. Put it in. Yes, if you have 6 months worth experience, put it in. Don't even, so when you have work experience or you've done a qualification, don't think too much about what you've done or where you're applying. Put it in, because work experience is work experience, right? And it's very important to have work experience on your CV as you go, because I mean, you did 6 months of work for what, right? Obviously to gain your salary and to learn and all of that, but it's very important. You have to put it in. Yeah. Is maximum page limit 2? So yes, of course you can go more than 2. You can even have 15, but I'm saying the most effective CV is maximum 2, because when it's too big, right, then what happens is people don't have time to read. That's what I'm saying. So if you really want someone to really browse through it within 1 minute, and it's too long, then they don't really take in everything. So it can go on to 3 pages. It can be 1 page. It can be 2 pages. It can be 3 pages. It's okay. But, the suggested limit is 2. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. So if no one has questions, then we can wrap up. Thank you so much, guys, for asking your questions. Like I said, a CV is very important. We do a lot of CV sessions. We do a lot of other sessions. So do follow us on our careers page. No, you do not have to include A-level results, like I told you. You don't need to. You can just say that you passed with a particular grade or whatever. So thanks a lot, and hope all of you make your best CV and get it proofread by someone before you go. Get someone's opinion, get someone's advice, and really do your research on it before you kind of ready this thing, because it's a very important thing. So good luck to everyone on your CV making, basically. Yeah. Over to you, Melissa, I'm guessing.
Yes, Miss. Thank you very much. That was a very insightful session. So I think if the audience wants to give any comments or, any suggestions about today's session, now the chat box is again open for you. So please feel free to write down your suggestions and ideas. Or you can even unmute your microphone and, give your suggestions and ideas.
Thank you so much, madam. We got very valuable insights about CV writing. I think now we can make a perfect CV. Thank you so much again, madam.
So thank you. Is there any more comments and suggestions?
Thank you so much.
Okay, so on behalf of everyone here, ma'am, thank you so much for sharing your insightful experiences with us. You showed us the right path to correct the our CVs, and I can guarantee that this session will carry our undergraduates to great places in their career life. So guys, I have a small reminder. So we informed you that we'll be giving a valuable e-certificate before this session began. So if you